No one saw this coming. The tension between Arionne Curry, Martell, and Melody has just exploded, and this time, it's beyond repair. In a shocking twist, Arionne breaks down in tears on camera, confessing things that even her closest friends didn't know. But just when the world thought the drama couldn't go any further, Martell drops a bombshell so big it changes everything we thought we knew about Melody. Hidden messages, secret meetings, and months of deception are now coming to light, and the truth is more heartbreaking than anyone imagined. What really pushed more heartbreaking than anyone imagined? What really pushed Arionne to the edge? What did Martell reveal that has everyone turning against Melody? Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear is the truth they never wanted the world to know, and once you know it, you'll never look at any of them the same again. Stay tuned, because what's unfolding next is pure chaos. The ongoing saga between Arionne Curry, Martell, and Melody has taken a turn that no one saw coming, and this time, emotions are running higher than ever. In this video, we're breaking down the raw, emotional moment when Arionne breaks down in tears after Martell drops a bombshell that completely changes everything fans thought they knew about Melody. These revelations aren't just shocking, they're transformative, pulling back the curtain on secrets, betrayals, and hidden motives that have been brewing for years. What started as whispers behind the scenes has now exploded into the public eye, leaving the internet divided and the fan base stunned. Sources close to the situation claim that Melody's actions, once dismissed as harmless, set off a domino effect, shaking the very foundation of trust and loyalty among everyone involved. Martell's decision to expose her truth wasn't random, it was calculated, emotional, and deeply personal, and for Arionne, that truth hit harder than anyone expected. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Martell's confession has gone viral, what Melody was desperately trying to keep quiet, and how Arionne's tearful response changed the narrative overnight. Because this isn't just reality TV drama anymore, this is real emotion, real pain, and real consequences. But before we unpack the full story, let's go back to the moment it all started. When Arionne Curry went live, her voice shaking, her eyes filled with tears, trying to explain her side before the world judged her for what came next. For anyone who's followed the tangled story between Arionne Curry, Martell Holt, and Melody Shari, this moment was nothing short of shocking. The woman so often labeled the other woman finally broke her silence, and what she revealed left fans speechless. This wasn't a performance. There were no filters, no PR spin, just raw emotion. Arionne's tears told a story words barely could. Her voice trembled as she spoke about years of feeling used, betrayed, and publicly humiliated. For so long, she's been painted as the villain in the collapse of Martell and Melody's marriage. But this time, she wanted the world to hear her truth. According to Arionne, there's a side of the story that's never been told, one that Melody allegedly fought hard to keep buried. She hints that what fans saw on TV and social media was far from the real picture. Behind the glamorous posts and perfect smiles, she claims, there were secrets, ones that could completely change how people see Melody. Everyone calls her the victim, Arionne said through tears. But y'all don't know what really went on behind closed doors. That single line was all it took. Within minutes, social media exploded, comment sections filled with shock, anger, and disbelief. Fans divided overnight, some defending Melody, others demanding to hear more from Arionne. And just like that, what started as a tearful confession turned into a full-blown firestorm that no one saw coming. Comment sections on social media were overflowing with people discussing whether Arionne was simply shifting the responsibility or was finally exposing the truth. But when Martell himself intervened, it caught everyone off guard. Martell abruptly decided it was time to reveal what he called the genuine narrative, despite having largely attempted to keep the work out of the public eye. He asserted that long before their marriage ended, Melody had been concealing important information about it and her actions. He claims that some of these secrets have the power to fundamentally alter how fans view everything that has transpired in recent years. Heartbreak was only one aspect of Arionne's emotional collapse. It has to do with vindication. In hopes that Martell would finally give his side, she had been waiting for this moment. And now that Martell was prepared to speak, it appeared as though the truth would soon come to light in ways that would shock all parties. This is when it becomes even more severe though. Martell disclosed more than simply minor details or nebulous charges. Fans were shocked by what he stated next in front of everyone watching online, and many began to question whether or not what they believed to be true about Melody was indeed true. Everything changed when about Melody was indeed true. Everything changed when Martell made the decision to speak up. He had remained largely silent for months while the media branded him the bad guy and Melody the devastated ex-wife. This time, however, Martell made it plain that he was done being reticent. He started sharing his perspective in a late-night live webcast that swiftly gained popularity. Martell's tone was a mix of defiance and tiredness, and he appeared composed yet determined. "Everyone wants to talk about what I did, but no one ever discusses what was happening behind closed doors," he remarked. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn to Melody's statement. "There are things Melody doesn't want anyone to know. Things that would make people see the whole situation differently. What on earth might Melody have been concealing all along?" Martell began by stating that long before the cameras were spotted, their marriage had been failing. He disclosed that the public's perception of the ideal power pair was not at all accurate. He claimed that beneath that glitzy exterior were ongoing disagreements, emotional detachment, and a strong sense of rivalry amongst them. He claimed that Melody had shifted her priorities from supporting their family to achieving celebrity and developing her personal brand. He continued by saying that Melody occasionally played on public sympathy by portraying herself as the victim while withholding important information. According to Martell, the first took the heat for everything. However, many are unaware of what she was doing and what was actually happening while I was attempting to make things right. Then came a statement that went viral on the internet. Martell claimed that Melody had been talking to another man in the last years of their marriage, which instantly caused fans to split. He didn't accuse her of being unfaithful, but he made it clear that her emotional attachment to someone else was a major factor in their relationship's disintegration. Within hours, blogs, gossip pages, and fan accounts began reposting clips from Martell's livarium, and hashtags like #MeloExposed, #Martells, and #ArionneBreaksDown started trending across various platforms as screenshots, text messages, and subtle references started making the rounds online, causing incessant speculation about who the mystery man might be. While some fans defended Martell, arguing that he finally deserved to speak the truth, others accused him of avoiding accountability and using Arionne's suffering as a shield. And Arionne Curry, who was already very emotional, appeared to be devastated by the events that were taking place, especially after hearing Martell publicly disclose information that was only loosely related to her predicament. "This is what I've been trying to tell people for years," she responded. "Here, I wasn't the only one who made mistakes. Everyone was too blind to understand that Melody had secrets of her own." The three of them were soon out of the chat. Fans, relationship gurus, and even other reality TV stars began to comment. Others maintained that Melody's image was not as pure as she presented, while others claimed Martell was faking the story to improve his own image. The distinction between perception, emotion, and fact became entirely hazy, resulting in an internet frenzy that was unlike anything this trio had ever experienced. Here's the startling twist, though. This wasn't even the whole truth, as Martell implied. He stated something near the end of his live stream that silenced everyone. "People would stop labeling me the villain if they were aware of everything that happened." Fans speculated that there were more profound secrets that had not yet been disclosed after hearing that comment, details that have the power to fundamentally alter how people recall this entire tale. One thing became evident as the internet split into factions, and Arionne's emotional collapse persisted. Whatever Melody was concealing, it had now turned into a weapon in a far more extensive struggle for power, integrity, and prestige. And just when everyone believed that there was no way things could get any more explosive, Martell unleashed something for which nobody was ready. His subsequent actions not only revealed Melody's personal life, but also brought their entire family dynamic into the public eye in a way that had never been witnessed before. Almost immediately after Martell made the decision to make his claims public, the internet went into overdrive. A single live stream turned into a media frenzy that captivated the entire world. Others who have remained silent up until now include fans, bloggers, other reality stars, and even old acquaintances. Clips of Martell's remarks were shared hundreds of times on all the main social media platforms in a matter of hours. It was no longer merely rumors, it was a full-scale digital conflict. The breakup wasn't the only topic of conversation anymore. They were looking for hints about what might have been true all along by rewatching previous interviews, comparing timelines, and examining text messages. Once supportive fans started to doubt Melody's account, while others charged Martell with gaslighting and retaliation. Martell with gaslighting and retaliation. The woman caught in the midst of this emotional tempest, Arionne Curry, found it intolerable. According to others close to her, she was heartbroken by the way things were turning out. She had believed that by revealing the truth she might find some sort of closure, but all she got was more suffering. The frequency of her emotional outbursts on social media increased, and she once acknowledged that the attention was too much. She said, "I never wanted it to go this far." During a tearful live session, as Martell continued to divulge more information, he started making public what he said were audio recordings and messages that alluded to Melody's secret existence. "I just wanted people to stop lying on me. I just wanted peace," but peace was nowhere in sight. Some of the material seemed to depict intimate discussions, passionate disputes, and situations that were never intended for the general public to hear. The most important question was whether or not it was all real. In an effort to find evidence, fans started analyzing every word, tone, and audio clip. Then came the scene that many viewers felt really went too far. In a post, Martell hinted that Melody had been making plans behind his back long before the split was made public, suggesting that she had not been totally honest about why she was leaving the marriage. An avalanche of reactions was triggered by just one post, which swiftly went viral. Melody's supporters hurried to her aid, accused Martell of attempting to damage her reputation. Others countered that after years of demonization, he was at last defending himself. Even Melody, who is often calm and self-assured, initially said nothing. According to insiders, however, she was enraged behind the scenes. Those close to her said she felt deceived by Martell's depravity, particularly when family and children were involved. This was more than rumor to Melody. It was about safeguarding her reputation, her legacy, and the privacy of her kids. Arionne's feelings, meanwhile, were evaporating in real time. She expressed her hurt on social media, stating that she would never want to be involved in a public dispute of this magnitude. She said in a devastating post that she had given up her reputation, her peace, and her mental health for a relationship that eventually caused her more suffering than joy. Numerous admirers expressed sympathy for her, stating that no one should have to endure such public humiliation. When other Love and Marriage Huntsville cast members started to speak up, the tension increased even further. While some implied that Martell wasn't totally incorrect, others backed Melody. The audience for the show was now sharply split, and each new interview or post fanned the flames. To make matters worse, more doubts were raised as Martell divulged more information. A layer of dysfunction, misunderstanding, and treachery that had been simmering for years seemed to be revealed with each new fact. Viewers began to wonder if the relationships depicted on the show were actually real or if they were all a show for the sake of publicity and viewership. This is where things took a surprising turn. Legal experts began discussing if Melody may take action against Martell for exposing private information online. While the incident dominated social media, an already tense situation became much more tense as the possibility of lawsuits or restraining orders gained popularity. However, the most shocking revelation was still to be revealed, because new rumors that suggested there was more evidence, something Martell hadn't yet disclosed, surfaced just as the internet was starting to calm down after his remarks. Rumor had it that he was hiding explosive evidence that would fundamentally alter the way fans perceived Melody and their relationship. The internet was at a standstill when Melody finally spoke. She came on camera calm, collected, and prepared to tell the truth after days of conjecture, rumors, and incessant arguments. Following Arionne's dramatic outbursts and Martell's explosive live streaming, her fans had been anxiously awaiting her side. Melody started off by stating that she had kept quiet out of consideration for her kids and her own recovery. However, there comes a time when being silent can be interpreted as guilt. She claimed to have seen individuals misrepresent my background, make fun of my suffering, and tarnish my reputation. I've carried enough though. People need to hear the truth. Her speech had a gentle passion, but her tone was measured. Melody talked about how one of the most agonizing events in her life had been the breakdown of her marriage. She acknowledged that she was not flawless and that the marriage had been failing for a long time before the world knew. Her candor regarding the emotional abuse and betrayal she claimed to have experienced, however, startled a lot of viewers. She disclosed that her mental and emotional well-being had suffered as a result of Martell's actions during their marriage. She clarified that people only see what they are shown. However, I was dealing with deceit, control, and manipulation behind the scenes. Despite being held accountable for actions I did not take, I battled to maintain my family's unity. Melody then talked about the gossip Martell had been spreading about her supposedly talking to another man and keeping secrets. She added the friendship began after she and Martell had already experienced an emotional separation, but she did not deny speaking to someone. You eventually reach out to people who make you feel seen, she remarked, after someone repeatedly destroys your spirit. Her statement struck Her statement struck a profound chord with viewers, particularly ladies who had followed her journey from the start. That's not cheating, that's survival. In contrast to the mayhem and public outbursts that have dominated the narrative thus far, many people viewed her response as dignified and empowering. Melody's video received hundreds of thousands of views in a matter of hours, and the comment section was overflowing with encouraging remarks. But not everybody was persuaded, asserting that she was still concealing information that may bolster Martell's allegations. Other supporters accused her of shifting the blame. Social media became a virtual war as the back and forth between supporters of the opposing factions intensified. Arionne resurfaced online, this time sounding defeated as others argued over who was telling the truth. She claimed that she felt taken advantage of by both parties and that Martell's attempt to reveal Melody had failed, making everyone appear worse. Nobody wins at this point, she said soberly. Everybody has been harmed, and everyone has harmed everyone else. According to people familiar with the matter, Love and Marriage Huntsville's producers were in full panic mode behind the scenes. The entire concert was in danger of being overshadowed by what had begun as a personal rivalry. According to insiders, filming was halted to give the actors time to comprehend the intense tension. Fans, however, were unable to turn away despite the intense feelings. The issue had grown beyond the scope of a reality program. It was now a topic of conversation concerning redemption, love, treachery, and reputation. No longer people only watching for amusement. They were trying to determine who was actually telling the truth by examining every action, post, and facial expression. New screenshots appeared just as everyone believed the story had finally reached its climax. Martell accused Melody of emotional betrayal based on supposed messages sent between him and another lady during that time. Fans were shocked by the hypocrisy, which rekindled their anger against Martell. How can you call out someone for engaging in the same behavior that you did? One fan wrote, the revelation completely turned the story around once more. People started to demand accountability, and Martell's credibility was called into question, while Arionne's followers urged her to avoid the spotlight entirely for the sake of her mental health. Melody's supporters rallied even more behind her, using the hashtag #MelodyDeservesPeace. However, this is where the story becomes even more ambiguous, as insiders close to Martell claimed that he wasn't done talking. He had one last piece of evidence, they said, that could blow everything up. Whether it was a document, a private message, or another recording, no one knew, but the prospect of him going public again kept fans on edge, and they checked their feeds hourly for the next update. What had begun as a private matter between three people had now grown into a full-fledged media phenomenon. Experts pointed out how social media can amplify pain in ways that never allow healing, while analysts discussed how public relationships can destroy reputations. For Melody, this was more than just drama. It was about taking back her story, and for Martell, it was about clearing his name and taking back control of a story that had defined him for years. Podcasts, gossip blogs, and entertainment shows all jumped on the story. But in reality, nobody really won. Everyone had lost something: their privacy, their peace, and their dignity. But even in the ruins, fans felt that this wasn't really the end. For Arionne, it was about surviving the emotional devastation of being caught between two people who were once in love and now at war. Because the next revelation in the narrative is always just around the corner when someone goes silent.